Good morning, colleagues. Morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Chair.
Oh,
Good morning.
I thought I'm lost. Yeah.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. I'm on my way to Joburg, so I'm sharing you from the car. I'm sitting in I will then switch off my video. There we are. I do know, colleagues, that all of us will be rushing to the sitting of the National Assembly. We need them to be time conscious in whatever we do. And I want to appreciate your
recording in progress.
Your understanding of us changing the time from 9 o'clock to 8 in order to make up for that time. We must not take that for granted, because I do know that all of you have got diaries to run, and sometimes changing on a short notice becomes a difficult thing to do. But the fact that you have managed to do it, I must appreciate it and thank you for that. Let's observe a moment of silence for meditation and of prayer. Thank you very much. Let's get into item 3, apologies. I have received an apology of Deputy Minister Mahlobo, who said that she will not make it for today's meeting. Is there any other apologies, Talent?
Morning, Chairperson. We've got apologies from Honorable Moore and Honorable Hendricks.
I did not hear that.
We've got apologies from Honorable Moore and Honorable Hendricks.
Oh, okay. I'm sure we must understand that it might be because of the changes of time. Let's agree with that. In the absence of that, I'm told that Minister is in the meeting. But singaba konkosi yami.
Ngiyavuma. Yebo. Thank you very much to you, Chair, and thanks to yeah. Thank you. Let me also greet the members of let me greet DMs who are here, and then the members of the portfolio committee. We have DG with us to make a short presentation or comments on the report back that we received in terms of commentary after the consultations. So DG will present on our behalf, and we will then come in at a later stage. Thank you very much.
Good morning, honourable members, Minister. The presentation will be made by Bronwyn Naidu, our Director for Legal Services. Over to you, Bronwyn.
Thank you very much, DG. Good morning to the Portfolio Committee and to our principals of the DWS. This morning, I'm going to take you through the public comment phase held by the DWS, as well as the comments that were addressed by the department, the recommendations made to the PC, the key stakeholders that presented to the Portfolio Committee and our response thereto, We have also prepared responses with regards to strengthened governance, viability and sustainability in response to those issues raised by the Portfolio Committee. Next slide, please. The DWS had held its initial public comment phase for a period of 90 days, which commenced last year on the 16th of September until the 16th of December, which we had later formally extended until the 17th of March, which then totaled a period of 120 days in order to give effect to a comprehensive and all-inclusive process. So the DWS had adhered to the principle of participatory democracy, as is supported by the Constitution. In doing so, we had observed two case law, the two constitutional court judgments that we had looked at. The first was Matatile Municipality and Others versus the President of South Africa, which held that the Constitution contemplates that people will have a voice in the legislative organs of state, not only through elected representatives, but also through participation in the lawmaking process. The additional constitutional court case that we looked at was Merafong Demarcation Forum versus the President of the Republic of South Africa, which held, but being involved does not mean that one's views must necessarily prevail. There is no authority for the proposition that the views expressed by the public are binding on the legislature if they are in direct conflict with the policies of government. Government certainly can be expected to be responsive to the needs and wishes of minorities or interest groups, but our constitutional system of government would not be able to function if the legislature were bound by these views. Next slide, please. The DWS had received approximately 82 comments, some of which included a second or further comment from the same commenter. The researcher of the Portfolio Committee had indicated to us that 75% of the total of 120 comments received by the Portfolio Committee did not indicate support of the bill. However, these comments were regarded as not substantive issues, which did not relate to the content of the bill. There were 3 issues, however, that were received that were considered pertinent and are addressed in the slides that follow. The researcher made the following recommendations to the Portfolio Committee, and this is our own summary. The Portfolio Committee should consider both the SANBI and the Western Cape Provincial Government submissions when considering the bill. The DWS will brief the Portfolio Committee on how they address the submissions from SANBI and the Western Cape Provincial Government, and to note the submission of Mr. Hendrik du Toit, who stated that all the problems can be resolved by implementing the National Water Act as well as the Water Services Act, but this being said, with no understanding of the functions, objects, and governance structures required for an entity to operate. Next slide, please. With regards to the SANBI submission, SANBI had indicated its support for the bill. However, it made several references for the inclusion of ecological infrastructure throughout the text of the bill. This bill, however, focuses on built infrastructure, whilst ecological infrastructure is a key focus area that is dealt with in Chapter 12 of the National Water Resources Strategy 3 and Chapter 8 of the National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. It also falls within the responsibility of our catchment management agencies, which are institutions that are established under the National Water Act. And therefore, we felt that those comments are better placed with the revision of the National Water Act, and we have referred them accordingly to the team that is working on the amendment of the National Water Act. The DWS, however, did agree with the inclusion of the word environment in the preamble, together with the words social and economic. With regards to Mr. Hendrik du Toit's comment, he commented that the National Water Act and the Water Services Act should be implemented instead of creating an agency. Our response to this was that we recognize the importance of implementing both the National Water Act and the Water Services Act as being essential. However, the National Development Plan includes the agency as an institutional reform for creation, and the agency will be established in accordance with this bill once promulgated, and it is also aligned and to be read with the National Water Act. This bill also sets out clear functions that are delegated to the agency. Next slide. The Western Cape Provincial Government had commented that it was uncertain as to whether the department had conducted a socio-economic impact assessment, and the department then confirms that we have a final socio-economic impact assessment that was approved by the presidency in June 2023, as well as a business case for the agency, which has been reviewed and assessed by the National Treasury, as well as independently. There were several suggestions made by the Western Cape Provincial Government regarding the grammatical changes, and they've also made some drafting suggestions. We have, in the refinement process of the bill, gone through the bill comprehensively and quite extensively with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, and we have addressed these issues. However, we did agree that in Section 1, the definition of the board will be amended to include Section 8.3, which refers to both Section 11 and Section 24, referencing non-executive as well as executive directors. With these responses, we have regarded that the recommendations made on these three parties have been effectively addressed by the department. In addition, we've also prepared formal responses to these parties, and we have similarly dealt with 82 comments received by ourselves in a similar manner and have considered them to be effectively responded to. The key stakeholders that presented to the Portfolio Committee included NEDLAC, that prepared quite a comprehensive presentation indicating their support for the bill. They, however, noted the agreement between the department and Labour to disagree, where Labour had indicated, just like COSATU, that it opposes a gentrification of the state, as they believe that the functions of the agency are best done through the department. National Treasury similarly presented quite comprehensively and indicated its support of the bill. They also stated that the Minister of Finance does not have the authority to amend the PFMA. This is done through an Act of Parliament, and the bill, once promulgated, will be that Act of Parliament. To this end, the DWS has already furnished the Minister of Finance with a Section 4 of the PFMA letter, which indicates that this bill will only amend the PFMA by inserting the word the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency to Schedule 2 as a listing as a major public entity. There will be no further amendments made to the Public Finance Management Act. South African Local Government SALGA had also presented quite comprehensively and indicated their support of the bill. They also raised their maiden being relating to long outstanding water revenue owed by municipalities to our water boards, as well as to our water trading entity, and the details are addressed in the following slides. COSATU had also presented comprehensively, indicating that they oppose agentification of the state and that they believe that the functions of the agency are best done through the department. These parties have all been engaged and effectively addressed by the department. With regards to our responses to Labour and COSATU, the department had indicated that the agency, when established, will have the TCTA disestablished. Integrated funding, development, operation, and maintenance of infrastructure was an overriding objective for us to establish the agency, as the country currently has a substantial backlog of water resource infrastructure. Agencies could obtain loans and raise funds outside of the allocation from the National Treasury and without National Treasury guarantees. It is for this reason that establishing an agency will address the issues that have been neglected. The department cannot raise funds on capital markets, and further reliance on the fiscus is just not possible. For this reason, government is reliant on special purpose vehicles to fund and implement viable economic projects. The conditions of service relating to employees will be included in a transfer agreement, as these transfers will be effected in line with the provisions of Section 197 of the Labour Relations Act. The transfer agreement will still be negotiated with the relevant bargaining structures and includes benefits such as the GEPF and GEMS, and these will be negotiated in the process. These parties, according to the DWS, have been engaged and effectively addressed. The DWS response with regards to the long outstanding debtors in terms of the water trading entity, we have indicated that the water trading entity is currently owned 8.4 billion rand by municipalities, of which 7.3 billion rand has been outstanding for more than 180 days. This accounts for 36% of the outstanding debt by municipalities. We believe that through focused efforts on the top 18 municipal long outstanding debtors, in collaboration with the National Treasury and SALGA, 64% of the 36% of the debts can be addressed by taking measures such as debt relief strategies based on prepayment agreements, the implementation of the proposed standard operating procedures, which include installing bulk meters, as well as taking legal action. With regards to addressing the concern on strengthened governance, the PC emphasized that there is a need for strengthened governance, and the DWS is confident that its Chapter 3 of this bill supports strengthened governance. With regards to the issue of viability and sustainability, the Portfolio Committee raised the issue of viability and sustainability, and DWS believes that a comprehensive business case was submitted and reviewed by the National Treasury, as well as independently by Ernst & Young. Both the National Treasury and Ernst & Young support the bill. Ernst & Young had further extensively consulted with the existing lenders of the TCTA, and they have indicated that the existing TCTA lenders had no objection to this bill. There are extracts of the business case that can be presented if required. In conclusion, the DWS believes that it has effectively responded to all the issues raised above. Thank you.
Chairperson.
Yes, Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is our considered response on the issues that were raised. I just want to make one or two comments. First comment on NEDLAC, just to further elaborate. Really, I think what NEDLAC and COSATU misses here in the main is that the country has backlogs on water infrastructure. But even more important is to further enhance the capacity of the state to protect South Africans as far as water infrastructure is concerned, so that we don't only just match what is seen as a demand for water and therefore water resources, but cater for climate changes, cater for including possibility of drought, but just generally decrease the level of anxiety about availability of water in the country, starting with how we're handling the available resources in terms of managing them properly and maintaining them properly for generations. There are quite a number of challenges, and therefore the agency will, above any other point and far above the department, will be able to garner resources. If you look at the infrastructure that is being constructed and projects that are underway now, they require the input of the private sector. Starting with Lesotho Highlands Water Project, which is largely funded by the private sector via the activities undertaken by TCTA, far above what the state could have afforded. So the assertion that, the functions of the agency could well be handled by department creates an impression that the agency will be outside the department. It's an agency that will be overseen by the department and 100% owned by them, by government or the public. Therefore, it's not a far off assertion, but it just in other words, we are together on that, but I think they missed the point on the financial side, which is a very strong and important point. Now, on SALCA, I think SALCA, we're dealing with a slightly different matter over and above or other than the agency per se, the merits thereof of establishing the agency. But as we say in our presentation, we really are satisfied that we have done everything that needed to be done to highlight the need, and there's no agentsification, and there's no justification. There's no evidence that justifies that kind of assertion, unless purely ideological. So we present this as having been taken through all the necessary stages, and it's there is merit in allowing the process, in establishing the agency, and therefore allowing the process to that effect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I'm sure we have engaged ourselves also with these entities, say for the fact that we must mention, Minister, that Mr. Detroit being invited to come and make a presentation to us like all other agencies, entities that came, he could not make it on the day that we invited him. So we did not listen to him, save for us having read his written input, which is what we all have now. But I think we must just say that we did not have a Mr. Detroit presenting physically on the sitting of the PC. With that in mind, and I think we must also appreciate that just be alive to the issue that the ideological difference between the employer and the employee on the labor part of NETLEC, and even on the labor part of this input, is inherent. We must never accept that or expect that it will cease to exist. Because once it ceases to exist, there shall be no need for unions that represent the interest of workers against the employer. It is for the employer to listen and get into the issue that, of course, having been listened, having participated, it does not suggest that only your views that differs shall prevail. Consideration should be done both ways. And I'm sure there is a case study that you are presenting here that speak to that point. Members, I want to see hands if there is who wants to ask questions or make comment on this is now the finalization of the bill that can be taken to Parliament now if are passed. Can I see hands of people that want to either accept the report as said or wanting to ask questions of clarities? Honorable Matuba, thus far, that end, can we let us be snappy on the issues. Remember where to join the meeting. Matuba?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, colleagues on the platform. Chair, let me be the first person to accept the report as presented. Indeed, that our questions are being answered. It's not for the first time that as the portfolio committee, we are dealing with these issues. Indeed, you are correct to say that we have received the presentation from NEDLEC, from SALGA, and also from National Treasury, and by far means we have extended our invitation to Mr. Ditwait. And the questions one would be asking by then would no longer ask now, because there is clarity in terms of what is being presented by the department, and also what is being presented by the department is inconsistent with what we have heard from other presenters. And lastly, Chair, I just wanted to check with the department with regards to those who had written to the department on the submissions, on their rejections, whether did they receive any responses thereof, or are they still going to get their responses? I know that it's not binding in terms of the Constitution for us to take whatever that has been raised. And I have seen that in terms of the new report, the consolidated report by the department, they have indeed tried to make summary of the responses, and those who had substantive presentation, they were able to incorporate where it is necessary. Whether have they received the responses, and whether the letter is been submitted to President as per what they were saying. There's another part where they should submit to the President, whether it's submitted. If not so, when are they going to do it? But as a member of the portfolio committee, I can confirm that I really align myself with their recommendations. Thank you very much, Chair.
Mamswai.
Morning, Chair. Morning,
Yes.
The Deputy Minister and the Minister and the officials and the colleagues. And also just to appreciate this presentation, which is summing up the process that we have traveled in this bill. I think it's important that we appreciate the role of the department in the clarifications that the department have made on the issues raised by some stakeholders. And also appreciate the legal unit of the department just to give us a clear legal standing of the bill continuously because that's also what is important, because people could challenge us on the constitutionality of how we've made this bill. I think the responses were very clear, more especially to NEDLEC and Labour, who came as a different people, but in one. I think the chairperson represented Labour well as the previous ex-leader of Labour. The clarity has been given to them. And it is sometimes worrying that perhaps the department is perceived, chairperson, that it can work against the agreements of workers, but it's good that they continue to raise that consciousness even to us. There's clarity on that now as NEDLEC. The issue of Mr. Dutoit, I think it's a matter that we must just say we've finalized and close it. Because on the views that he has raised, he was called individually to appear before the committee and present his views. I think that he didn't see the need, perhaps says a lot about the agreement that he has. I want to align myself with that Honorable Matuba is raising on those that have made submissions in writing, if they've been responded to in writing, so that there is no one who's challenging us in the process. I agree that the bill must proceed. It must go to Parliament for enactment to NCOP, and we address the issues as we have seen as the department and the portfolio on how water services should be distributed to our people and its challenges. Thank you very much.
Yeah, rather than us asking questions whether the presenters have been responded to or not, we better recommend that we are asking that the department, if not, please respond, give them your responses in writing, just as a courtesy for them having been made their presentation in writing too. I think it is just a tit for tat matter. But remember, Mrs. Nancy, this is not a Section 75 bill that does not need the NCOP processes. But informing them, yes, we must. But it is no longer that we are still going to await the decisions of the NCOP, because this is Section 75 bill. Minister, do you want to comment?
No, Chair. I really appreciate the comments made by the members of the honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, and we appreciate the support, and we will then take it further in the National Assembly. Thank you very much.
Just before, there are two hands that I have just propped up. Nick Maybeck, Honorable Maybeck, I think it is Honorable. I don't know who is Mr. Naidu. Do you have a Naidu as a member here?
Hello.
Who is that?
Chairperson, it's Bronwyn Naidu, the presenter.
Oh, you wanted to say something?
Yes, Chair. I just wanted to confirm on behalf of the department that written responses have been prepared by the department and are currently being processed.
Thank you, Brandon. Honorable Maybeck.
Hello, Chair. Can you hear me?
I do.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, I want to pose a couple of questions and make a short statement on this matter. As you are aware, the Democratic Alliance cannot support this bill for a variety of reasons. But before I get to that, I'd like to ask, I think it was the minister, not sure, I think it was the minister who stated this morning that, and on previous occasions, that one of the motivations for this bill is that the department cannot go to the open market for finance any longer. He's not able to find any success there. The prospects are very limited. And also in terms of the fiscus, National Treasury, that tap has also run dry. Now, for the department, I'd like to know from the minister or from the department, from the DG, the CEO, what is the reason that the department, a department such as this, such a vitally important, such a huge component of government, that it is reached the point that we cannot source finance in the open market for our infrastructural requirements, and nor the fiscus for that matter. And how have we come to this point at this stage of the game? And how will this change the way we operate in the future? What will make our ability to source funds financially from financial institutions beyond government and even the borders of the country? How will the creation of this entity facilitate it? That has never been made clear enough. The concern here is that what we're looking at is simply the creation of another state-owned enterprise. We can call it by any name we like, but it looks like a state-owned enterprise. It smells like one, it tastes like one, probably is a state-owned enterprise. So our concern is that within the context of state-owned enterprises in this country, the way it has been run or mismanaged, the findings of the Zondo Commission and various other entities that have investigated the extent of state capture in this country. What is it that the minister can tell us? How will this be different? How is it that we're not creating another state-owned enterprise which will drown in its own corrupt mismanagement as time goes on? And are we simply not creating yet another monster? If we look at the details of the act in terms of the proposed bill, in terms of how this board of this agency will come about.
Mr. Maybeck.
Yes.
Mr. Maybeck, we are now engaging on a political discussion and debate on the process that has been standing for some years, for some time now. Now you want us to go back to debate the need for an agency which we have been engaging ourselves into up until today, together with yourself. And yes, now you're questioning why did we engage ourselves into that process at the tail end of the process that you were involved in. And you're starting by saying to us, we must know that the TA will in any way oppose this thing. So why are you engaging?
I'm engaging, Chair, in a last bit effort to try and gain clarity on a couple of serious questions and reservations that we have. It is so that our position is to oppose the bill as it is now, unless we get satisfactory answers. And this is an opportunity for the minister and the department to provide answers. This is the whole purpose of the exercise, Chair. Surely the discussion is not over. It's still got a long way to go. But we need to get clarity on a couple of issues. And one of those is the minister needs to give us assurances, and the minister needs to clear up with us why does he think that this time this SOE will be different from all the others that we've seen failed in the last 20 to 30 years. How can we in good conscience support a process which is basically a carbon copy of what's happened in the past? Now, the point I want to make, Chair, and this is very important, this is not a personal attack on the minister. I have no reason to doubt this particular minister's integrity. I believe he's a man of integrity, and he's a man who's trying to fix things, and he's a man who wants to improve the situation as far as water and sanitation is concerned, together with senior management that has been appointed. But you know, we write laws, Chair. We write laws not for good ministers. We write laws for the worst of ministers. We write laws for the bad apples. And you have to ask yourself, what happens when we get a bad apple in the chair as a minister with this at his disposal, with the means at his disposal which is created here, to appoint a board chair, to appoint a CEO, CFO, etc., basically to run the show. And we've seen what happens when ministers interfere in procurement processes, etc. So this sets the table, Chair, and I think you'll appreciate this comment. This sets the table for a potentially disastrous situation as we've experienced. And I'm concerned that we're not writing bill for the worst case scenario. We're writing this bill for the best case scenario. And we know that we cannot operate in this way. We have to have a better means of protecting and safeguarding the resources of the state. And I'm afraid this bill is not doing it for us. Unless the minister can give us a credible explanation why he thinks this time round it will be different. We have an election next year. Who knows who'll be Minister of Water and Sanitation next year this time? We have to look at all these scenarios and ask ourselves, is this the right and appropriate route to go? Thank you, Chair.
No, fine. Let's allow the minister to try to answer you, but I'm very convinced you are just politicking, Mr. Maybeck. To be honest, you are just politicking and not reasoning with the bill. But let me hear what Honorable Mkhunu is going to say.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson, for your consideration. And I do want to, even though the Honorable Member Maybeck comes from a party that has already made public statements to this effect in terms of their position, but I respect what he is seeking clarity on. And I also want to take that very opportunity to pursue the matter to convince them via him as a member of parliament outside the clear of the public. You will realize, Mr. Maybeck, that firstly, we on the 27th of October last year, the mining sector in the area of Sekhukhune in Limpopo signed an agreement with us to provide water to the mines and to the villages, 38 villages in the eastern wing of the project that we are agreeing on, and 96 villages plus mines on the western wing of this agreement. They are putting almost 50% of the 24 billion project. We as the public are also putting 12 billion, making it 24 or so billion rand. Now, we think that just that model alone serves not only to fund, but to counter temptations for corruption and possibility of corruption. They will be looking after their 12 billion, we will be looking after 12 billion, after our 12 billion. We have gone on to do a similar arrangement on phase 2 of Walhamhara in Northern Cape of 10 billion, a project that will amount to 10 billion rand, which seeks to augment infrastructure and supply of water to the far areas up to Hamahara and beyond. We've established a partnership office, water partnership office, with the Development Bank of South Africa. Now, to over about 5 programs that were inviting the private sector to participate, via which we are inviting the private sector to participate in it. Honorable Maybeck, in the whole world, it is acknowledged that unless the private sector is enabled via conducive models and to certain policies to play a role in the development of any of the countries in the world, but particularly to invest in water. Even the United Nations has encouraged and taken a number of resolutions to this effect, that there isn't enough investment in water throughout the world, and that nations are being encouraged, and they are looking at ways and means of doing exactly this, to get the private sector to participate in the water sector. But you can't just make it verbally. You've got to demonstrate over and over that the mechanism through which you are doing this inspires confidence. Now, it's not a question of South Africa, but the private sector throughout the world hasn't shown eagerness over time and great interest in investing in projects in water. Not just investing in a country where they come and invest ordinarily, but the market's behavior in relation to water is peculiar throughout the world, and it is acknowledged. And they need a lot of coaxing, and they need a lot of confidence, and you need to develop a number of models to make them interested in this. But over and above that, water is not necessarily seen as having immediate spin-offs to the would-be investor. And it takes a while. And so the market's behavior overall throughout the world is such that this is not just easily happening. And therefore, as a way of doing this or mitigating this reluctance, an agency of this nature would go a long way to mitigate doubts and encourage the market to develop confidence in government. Remember, this thing will be 100% owned by the state, but you need a mechanism in that scenario to coax them and demonstrate to them that there is a conducive environment for them to invest this time around. And therefore, it goes beyond just an ordinary agency. It takes on board the need to actually go out of your way and make sure that the market does invest in water, which I'm saying up to now, throughout the world, not in South Africa alone. So to your question, how do we get to this? It would require a long conversation because, as I say, it's a world trend. It's not about South Africa, and it's not peculiar to South Africa, and therefore you need to mitigate. And I must say that from private sector companies that we interact with, they are very much encouraged and enthusiastic when we show them that, when we point them to the water partnership office to say, fine, in principle, we are willing to work with you. And they would say they are willing to work with us. And then we say, go to the NPO office. There are 5 programs that are in the offing there through which you can participate and so on. So so that is what, but I would then therefore say, and the agency therefore stands a better chance because their whole existence is around the orientation of the agency will be that of a company seeking to make business with other companies in the world as opposed to government. And let me come to corruption. Corruption is man-made and woman-made, if you like. And it doesn't follow that. Let me just take TCTA. TCTA was established in the 80s, 1980s, and it has managed a first phase of Lesotho Highlands Water Project very well up to now, and they haven't been tainted, so to speak, with this rampant corruption. Now they have a good image, and we are not establishing an SOE, another SOE per se, out of empty space. We are like transforming the current TCTA into an agency, taking into consideration their culture and their history over years. And they are now managing our phase 2, which we've resuscitated. And we want to maintain that good name or that those good practices and culture that has evolved over time in that institution. But of course, we'll continue to fight. We'll have to continue fighting corruption anywhere. Even if, Mr. Mayberg, even if all of this work were to reside in the department, within the department, it's not different. There will still be corruption, which demonstrates beyond any doubt that whether work of this nature is managed within the department, so to speak, or via an institution like this one, it has to do with people and their ethos and their determination to serve the nation and develop the country outside corruption. We are now dealing with a totally private institution in the form of banks and that manipulated the rand and got to corruption, which is a story in South Africa that is running. And that those banks have nothing to do with government per se. And therefore, it's not, corruption is not being government, and government is not being corrupt, but it is people who decide on their own to engage. And as a nation, we must stand united to fight corruption in all its forms, everywhere where it rears its ugly head. When this story came up that there are comments that are being made against the agency, I went to the website and I found several companies in the Western Cape that are under the government of the Western Cape, and those companies have boards and so on, and they are under departments, functioning under departments, and therefore it doesn't follow that if the minister is involved in appointing board and so on. And I don't think we should exaggerate to say the minister will appoint a CE. It doesn't. You don't. There's no law that says so, and you don't appoint. It's appointed by the board. But in appointing the board, there are various processes which are quite independent. And as a practice in water and sanitation, we look for people on merit and other elements in the country, demographics and all of that. But I don't think that in corruption by individuals in our country must then make us or must blur certain realities and even entertaining ideas of merit that will far outlive us and outlive those corrupt people. And we must then say, because they exist or they existed, we must then, even if there's merit in an idea, just because so and so was around and got corrupt, and then we must avoid that. I think we need to think and separate things to the best of our ability. So far, so good. I think the Parliament of South Africa, at this stage, constituted by, among others, yourselves here, you are doing well in terms of voices against corruption generally, even in government. There's no fear in tackling ministers and so on. And therefore, I think it's not another SOE. Corruption can be fought and be defeated, and let's allow ideas of merit to prevail, even above our fears for corrupt people and so on. So it don't follow that you have an SOE and then there's definitely corruption. I would want to say as much, Chair, with the opportunity, but I will find time and engage the honourable members maybe on a person-to-person as a South African offline at some point. Thank you.
I see a hand of somebody written DWS team, but you're co-hosting. Is anything want to raise?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. It's the DG here. I just wanted to add a couple of points to the Minister's response to Honourable Myburgh.
Just a minute, DG. Just a minute, you might even want to, in the process, answer what Honourable Mhlala will want to raise because the hand is up. Honourable Mhlala?
No, thanks so much, Honorable Mashiko, the Department of the Minister of of Water and Sanitation and the entire team. Now, today I'm not going to speak a lot, Chairperson. I would like just to state that the committee should take note that the EFF will reserve its comment for now on the report of the department. We will return to express our perspective on this legislation soon. I think we will be coming back about this legislation. This is where the EFF will state categorically their perspective on this legislation. Thank you. Metsi ke a batla ene a kere ha o tsebe hore ke tsa ga kae ka perspective e ke tlang or either we're going to agree.
Okay.
So just wait. We are still doing we are people that believe more in research. We are still researching thoroughly with this thing, and then we'll come back to you. And if you are on point, we'll state that I think you are on point. We agree with you. And if you are not, we'll come with some perspective that can also assist in this.
The
think
the chairperson is currently having network issues.
yeah, let's proceed. Please, let's do what you're supposed to be doing now. The chairperson is not here.
Honourable members, shall I proceed with my response to Honourable Myburgh in the meantime? Honourable Myburgh, you asked a specific question on why the department can't borrow. The answer is that in terms of the Public Finance Management Act, no departments are allowed to borrow. All the borrowing on behalf of departments has to be done by the National Treasury. And as you're aware, National Treasury's the debt from borrowing from National Treasury has increased substantially, and National Treasury is trying to reduce that debt. So there are limits to which National Treasury can borrow more in order to provide departments with more money. Now, when the minister indicated that there's been borrowing for projects like Lesotho Highlands, that has not been borrowing by the department. It has been borrowing by the TCTA. And the TCTA does that borrowing on the back of explicit guarantees provided by National Treasury. The reason why the TCTA has to do its borrowing on the basis of explicit guarantees from National Treasury is because the TCTA doesn't own any revenue generating assets and therefore is not able to use its balance sheet as a basis for borrowing. So the key aim or objective of creating the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency is really to expand on the model of the TCTA and to merge the TCTA with the parts of the infrastructure branch of the department and the revenue collection part of the department and to transfer the revenue generating assets to the NWRA. So the NWRA will then have substantial assets with substantial revenue streams associated with them and will be able to borrow on the basis of its balance sheet and the revenues that it will be obtaining. So it will be in a much better position to borrow than the TCTA currently is able to. And the TCTA is limited in its borrowing because National Treasury is also limited in the degree to which it can extend further explicit guarantees to entities such as the TCTA, because that is also viewed by the rating agencies as problematic if we have too much explicit guarantees in addition to the national debt as a result of Treasury's borrowing. So the Treasury doesn't give the TCTA a limitless ability to borrow, and it's restrained in terms of the explicit guarantees that it's willing to give the TCTA. Whereas with the NWRA, it will own the assets and have the revenue streams associated with those assets and won't have similar constraints to the constraints the TCTA currently has, and therefore will be in a much better position to borrow on the basis of its revenue generating assets. Honourable Myburgh, you also asked a question about what we're doing to try and ensure that the NWRA is well governed. We have thought about that when we drafted the bill, and we put specific clauses in the bill, particularly relating to the appointment of the board, to mitigate that risk of the TCTA not being well borrowed. And we put clauses in there, for example, on the qualification and experience requirements of board members to do exactly what you're saying, to make sure that when a minister appoints the board, the minister is legally required to appoint the right kind of people to the board. If the committee would like, we can ask our Director for Legal Services, Bronwyn, to expand more on the specific clauses that were put into the bill to try to mitigate the risk of the agency not being well managed. Thank you.
Honourable members, it seems the chairperson is having trouble reconnecting. I guess we can probably choose an interim chairperson for now. I see the hand of Honourable Matuba.
Thank you very much, Chair. That was my plea also, that it seems as if we lose chairperson in the process due to network problem. And I would suggest that we appoint Honorable Tseke to chair the meeting until such time the chairperson is back. That is my proposal, Chair. Thank you.
I think it needs to be seconded, members. Any second?
Seconded, Chair.
Okay, Honorable Zaki.
Yes,
Good morning. Yes, good morning, members. I'm driving. I was entering Parliament, but thanks so much. Though I was listening to the deliberations, thank you so much for your inputs. I'm not quite sure whether the minister does have some final inputs regarding the comments that were raised by members.
No,
Honorable Minister, okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think we're done. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Okay, thanks so much. Do you have the legal advisor from Parliament in the meeting? Talent, is the legal advisor from Parliament part of our
Yes,
meeting?
we do. Yes,
Good
yes, we do. We have Ms. Arnold.
Oh, okay.
Good morning,
Ms.
Chair.
Arnold,
Good
how are
morning,
you?
Chair. I'm good, and yourself, Chair?
Good, good.
Thank you.
Yes, can you advise can you advise in terms of the process going forward?
Okay, Chair. Specifically, we've heard the department's responses, and we would proceed to deliberate on the bill clause by clause. And if there is any proposed amendments, myself, together with my colleague Pumelele and the department's legal advisors, we can then proceed to draft a list. And the A list is a document which we will use in order to effect any amendments, and that will give rise to our B bill. Through you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much. When can that process be done? Can it be done before we rise? I just want that idea tweak or on of the Parliament. Will it be possible for us for you guys from the legal section to finalize this, and do we table this matter before we rise, or is it going to be a process of next year?
Chair, looking at the time of year and where we are at now, it would most probably have to stand over till next year. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks so much. But can you fast track the process? But thanks so much, and thank you, members, for your contributions in this bill. Hopefully, the matter will be processed speedily by the departments and together with our legal representatives from Parliament. Chair, are you back? Chair had a problem with connection. He just called me. I'm not quite sure whether he's back. But if not, thank you so much, honorable members, Minister Mtunu and DM, and the department led by DG. From ourselves, we'll keep in contact with our team that deals with the bills, and from your section too, from your side, I think you'll push from that side up until we finalize the bill. But it is our view as members of the committee, though others have reserved the right, but I think majority do support this bill. It is our view that we fast track and pass it before the end of this term. Hence, it is a Section 75. I think we will not have any challenge in terms of processing it. But thanks very much, members, for your support. Is there any other item?
Yes, Chair, it's the adoption of the minutes of the 21st.
Can you fly them? Thank you, Minister. Thank you and your team. You can leave the meeting if you wish to.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, department. Thank you, DG and the department. Utsakataki, EFF. Mashego, you can take over. We are done with the bill, and we are now on the minutes.
You must be careful of your language. We are your government next year, and you will.
Mashego, don't waste our time. It's 19 minutes to 10.
Minutes of the 21st of November 2023 on page 1.
Where is Honorable? Yes, Honorable.
No, he sent an apology.
Oh, he was shocked. He was dealt with in that debate.
Where? I dealt with Floyd very badly myself.
You were just when you were just being.
I dealt with him very badly.
It was the fact you were being personal.
Okay, let's get to the minutes, Mutala. Page 2, talent. We are on page 3. Okay. Page 4, if there is 4, why do you are still at 3? Okay. There we are. The minutes then get adjourned on the at 3 minutes to 10 o'clock. Can I have a move and a second of the minutes?
Chair, I move that we accepted the minutes as a true reflection of what transpired in that meeting. Thank you.
Honorable Secretary does the seconder.
Second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's try and join the meeting at 10. We have again finished with 17 minutes to go up to 10. Well done. Thank you very much. The meeting stands adjourned. Let's prepare for the sitting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks a lot.